So what we are always explaining the banks is at first, avoid thinking about your, existing processes and journeys and so on and so forth and these control systems that they have put in place. Go journey by journey with a zero-based approach. Transform these journeys all the way from onboarding to servicing, lending, investing, and then ensure that it is connected to the right business value.
Hi, my name is Vaskelainen, Head of Banking at Siili Solutions, and welcome to Composable Banking podcast, where we go through expectations and realities of changing banking landscape. And on today's episode, we have a lovely guest, Mayur Vichare. I pronounced it very Italian. Did I do it correct?
You were absolutely correct.
Fantastic. You are a Director, Strategy and Value Consulting at Backbase. So welcome, Mayur.
Thank you. And
the first question of line is, tell me a little bit about yourself. How did you end up in Backbase?
How did I end up in Backbase? Well, I'm in the industry for a little over than 15 years now. And Backbase found me, or I found Backbase, one or the other things happened. Right. But it was a mutual love for sure. In my role at Backbase, I'm leading the value consulting team, as we call it in Backbase. My role and my team's role is to ensure that we do assessments for banks, ensure that, aligning the roadmap to the expectations and also to the reality, and also doing the return on investments calculation, which we can then later track if they happen to select Backbase as a partner of platform vendor, and then also see to it that the value that we have committed, we deliver that value. So that's basically my role. I have experience across the different industries, but primarily in banking and financial services for more than 10 years now.
All right. And probably the second question is that been looking about the news, the financial industry, the banking, everybody most likely follows the same news channels and feed information. And one day I noticed that Backbase signed a strategic partnership or a partnership agreement with Danske Bank. And after that, everybody started buzzing around you. And of course, I was one of them, like, who is this Backbase? So what they do? So I'm not going to tell that. I'll give you the opportunity to explain and share with the audience, what is Backbase?
Yeah.
And what do you do?
Yeah, interesting. So I think as Backbase, we are on a mission to re-architect banking around the customer. And we are offering a new age, new generation engagement banking platform, which allows financial institutions to progressively modernize their customer journeys while ensuring that the customer operations, their business operations, are also architected around the customer. So that's the mission that we are on.
That's very interesting. And also when you touch a few important cornerstones, what is happening in financial industry and the banking. So the legacy systems, the transformation, then you mentioned about the digital transformation as well. So there's a lot of happening right now. Mm-hmm. And if we take the digitalization in banking in general and the modernization, you need to prepare for the future. What kind of options banks have today that they could take to ensure they stay relevant for the future?
Yeah, I think we might have a very binary answer to it, but I will just try to expand it first and then come to what we recommend. Typically, what we see that banks are starting to, there are three options that banks are taking. Either they are going by doing this whole back-end transformation, the code transformation, and then there are banks who are going journey by journey and transforming customer journeys from front to back. And then there are banks who are keeping their existing stack the way it is, and they are coming up with a completely new stack from front to back. Of course, we have an opinion, and our opinion is very clear that transformation on the core banking, on the legacy systems, especially doing a lot of build on the legacy systems, it's time consuming and it's also very costly. And therefore, that kind of transformation is slow. And if the banks keep going on that, it's going to be very long and it's not going to give them the required ROI. The three options that I laid, these three options have different sort of payback period and ROI as well. The first option has a payback period of around 5+ years, right? The second option, which is journey-based, has a payback period of 2 to 2.5 years. And the third option, which is, you have a new stack in parallel to your current technology stack, front to back, has a payback period of probably 3.5 to 4 years. So the center option, which is going journey by journey and then modernizing all the way from front to back, is probably the most preferred option because it's less when it comes to time to market. It's faster. It also costs less. It gives you faster returns. So what we are always explaining the banks is at first, avoid thinking about your existing processes and journeys and so on and so forth and these control systems that they have put in place. Go journey by journey with a zero-based approach. Transform these journeys all the way from onboarding to servicing, lending, investing, and then ensure that it is connected to the right business value.
That's interesting. And if we take that journey by journey approach, if we think about a bank, now if we gonna wear a banking hat right now and thinking about we see up front the digitalization project, modernization project, we need to do something very quickly. And now they have heard, okay, journey by journey is the great option to go forward. How should they start it? What procedures or steps they should kind of take before starting this journey by journey process?
I think it starts by understanding what journeys will give you the most business value. It's not another tech transformation project, right? It's not just another tech replacement. Because most banks, we still see that they are looking at, hey, here's branch, let me just transform the branch. Or hey, here's a channel call center, let's just put a new system on call center. But if you look at the way the client thinks, the way any banking customer thinks, they're not singular channel or singular product customers. They're mostly multi-channel and multi-product customers, right? So if you go end to end when it comes to your journeys, think of the journeys which are going to give you most business value. Example could be lending. And we still see that, lending has a lot of good return on investment and business value. And again, this might differ per bank. Some banks are still transforming their onboarding experience, for example. They're still very paper-based. Clients still have to go to the branch. Sometimes it's regulatory. Sometimes it's just internal processes, So what is it that is going to give you the most business value is something that you need to do a kind of what we call as a scan with us or with our partners like you, so that we can go through this scan and see, okay, this is the thing that's going to give us the most value. Let's start the transformation from there. Now, you might even think that it's too slow then. And if you have more budget, then you can even think of doing things in parallel, right? You can go for one journey and then you can even think of a new proposition alongside it. So what we suggest is go for the journey which has the most business value, understand your client, also understand, for example, what is happening on your contact center, what is the branch suffering, but think holistically. Don't think, just one replacement of a system or an application.
Yeah. Very interesting points that you're bringing up all the time. And I'm just trying to marinate in this and try to kind of get the full understanding of from the kind of a digitalization projects. And it requires quite a tremendous amount of resources and time and a lot of options out there, the consideration and planning, internal meetings, consultancy. There's a tremendous amount of work. And of course, you end up in this same question that everybody likes to ask is that, should I build it or should I buy it? So is there a between option, or just you need to, from these two options, which has more kind of a total cost of ownership, or which are the kind of a better option from the customer perspective? Should they build it or should they buy it? What do you think?
I think it's not build or buy. It is build and buy. In our experience, if you look at the channel layer, especially the omni-channel, the engagement banking layer, it is a last mile delivery for your client, right? At the end of the day, that's where the value is delivered and that's where the value is consumed by the client. So if you take a very binary approach that let's just go and buy, then what happens with that is then you're stuck with a vendor, which is a vendor lock-in, and then you're not able to innovate. And as you know, especially when COVID came in, we had to do so much, right? Introduce new functionalities, new features, new journeys on your apps, on your web apps. At the same time, ensure that your contact center is in sync with the web and mobile apps. So it was quite tough. That basically means that you have to be agile, right? And you have to ensure that there's no lock-in. You don't have to rely completely on the vendor, which brings us to the second choice. Then should we just build it? And the problems with build is that it takes longer to build a scalable platform. And what I mean by a scalable platform is something that is composable, the episode name, something which is composable and it's reusable across your different teams. Unfortunately, when you start building, this is again our observation, financial institutions build, development teams start building things which are very specific to their needs. And then they just don't pull those things out to make it reusable for other teams, right? They're more defined by their own outcomes than the enterprise outcomes, which doesn't make it scalable, which also increases the cost, which introduces more tech debt, right? So these three things is also not making build really a very viable option. So when we were designing the platform of the Backbase platform, the one thing that our R&D team does is to ensure that there's flexibility. And therefore, it's not build or buy, it's build and buy. You take the plumbing, you take the basics, like the accounts, transactions, etc., but you can then build on it. For example, there's a specific regulation that comes in tomorrow where account related status has to be shown or transaction status has to be shown on the app. Well, transaction is transaction. It's there. You just have to add the specific into it, which needs flexibility, right? And this is a basic example. So that's why you need to balance build and buy. And that build and buy decision comes more from also, avoiding this whole topic of should I build or buy? Should I do this? Should I do that? No, it has to be composable. It has to be pick and choose the right services, the right journeys, so that you can easily compose and then deliver the right value to the client. So we moved away from build or buy to build and buy.
Build and buy.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to take that into my conversation from now on. But how would you see the composable banking then? If we generally talk about, you name dropped it already a couple times, but if we take that into under magnifying glass and look into a little bit more, is it something that you're considering as well when you're kind of helping customers to prepare for the future? Is the composable the right way to go forward?
Yeah, I think, we think it is. And we can tell you why, because composability, let me just take a step back. Composability is not just architecture. Composability is also thinking. Because if you have to be agile as a business, and that's what we have been telling financial institutions, you need to be agile, right? That has to be ensured that everyone from your business to technology teams are thinking in a composable way. Now, what does that mean? It means that it has to be modular. It has to be autonomous. It has to be discoverable. So, for example, something that my team builds should be able to be used by some other teams, right? So that composable thinking leads into composable architecture. That goes into composable business architecture, that goes into composable technology architecture, and so on and so forth, right? Now, we have a specific meaning to it, right? This is modular, autonomous, discoverable. All the components should be easily scalable, should be reusable, which is the heart of the composability. Unfortunately, building a composable architecture inside traditional organizations, be it financial institutions or any other industry, it's tough because the organizations are built in a siloed way, unfortunately. And because they are built in a siloed way, the communication lines are siloed. And your IT teams then build systems which are siloed. And therefore, you don't have the thinking so that you also end up not building composable architecture. So what we think is, again, you can buy a composable platform which gives you a jump start, which also enables the composable thinking. A lot of our clients, when they buy or when they came on board the platform, one thing that they said, it brought technology governance. Because not everyone is just doing whatever they want to do, different frameworks, which is not scalable. Everyone just comes around one framework, and that is scalable, that is reusable, and that improves time to market. And then your market share grows, and then your revenue grows. So that is what, is the crux of the whole composability, which we are preaching and which we are practicing and implementing as well.
That's a good answer in that sense, because the communication is the key to success. Like you mentioned the silos, the banks are living in that right now. So it's quite siloed, and they try to build it up, kind of a group level communication, try to understand each other from the business to IT, and the communication needs to be transparent and it needs to move forward together, like cover and move approach, and so supporting each other to common goal. But in your opinion, how that communication and collaboration between IT and the business stakeholders, how you can ensure that it is transparent and is aligned and everybody's kind of pursuing the same horizon, the same Northern Star, and making sure that this bank and this is the service and solutions that we're doing today is meeting the next generation customers or next future kind of approved banking experience. So how can you ensure or how can you facilitate that collaboration and that to be rock solid?
I think the first thing before we even come to the picture is to come to a realization that the role of IT has changed and the role of business has also changed in the digital world. It's not business who is only responsible for digital, or it's also not IT which is only responsible for digital. It's combination of both. Unfortunately, the KPIs, between, especially in the traditional financial institutions, it's still, there's a mismatch, right? We do see that. You have to ensure that the digital teams have both the roles embedded, which is, business and IT. And at the same time, your CEO, for example, is now becoming a little technological. They also have to change. It's not just a business role. It is a business and technology role. But at the same time, your CTO becomes not just a technology role, it's a technology and business role. So there's learnings on both the sides, and they all have to come to one KPI, which is, of course, customer KPIs, but also business KPIs and technology KPIs have to be shared responsibility of that. Now, when it comes to execution level, that also has to be, each team should be given joint KPIs. That it's not just about having less technology debt. That should be also responsibility not just of IT but also of business. The same way, the IT teams who are actually developing should understand that, hey, whatever we are developing is going to get these business results, and that should be our one single approach. Unfortunately, that doesn't happen. At the same time, the scalability team, the platform team should also ensure that there is reusability related KPIs that are embedded in the development teams. Unfortunately, that's also not the case today, right? And what is developed by, for example, there are a lot of large banks who are going into journey teams, right? They have journey for onboarding, and that team is responsible for end-to-end onboarding development. There's a tribe for servicing. There's a tribe for lending. These are really good models because now we are moving into that agile and customer-centric models. However, the platform beneath it has to be scalable, and therefore they should also have a KPI for how can I make what I have made more reusable to the other teams, more composable for other individuals and other teams. So it's not driven by my team's outcome, but the enterprise outcome. We are all aligned to that one enterprise outcome. So first thing to summarize, your business and IT joint KPIs. Business and IT understanding each other's roles. Business becoming a little tech becoming a little business. So those things are very important. And then we come into play, like Siili and us, where we can come together and make them, paint the vision. Also bring the expertise from, hey, what's happening in the globe? Where should the vision be? What could be the differentiated value propositions that we can build together? That is a vision and execution that we can bring in and try to bring those parties together. And we do that as our daily lives every month with different banks across the globe.
Yeah, I'm already sold on that one. So that's a perfect example of a good collaboration between teams and units, and that's something that definitely everybody should take into the account and moving forward. And it's more and more when we move into digital era, the teams are a little bit spreading outside of each other, taking the distances that needs to be brought back together and closer, and try to understand what the other side is doing that ensures that you're moving the same direction. But from taking conversation from there into the collaboration, into spreading outside the market and talking about the banking in general, let's scope it a little bit. So within the Europe, you have had a lot of communication with various banks, not only in Finland, but also other regions as well. What kind of features or functionalities or choices or kind of if we put it, kind of a positive or that positively impact on the discussions that you're having with the customers right now? So I'm going to set up the question a little bit more specifically. So based on the conversation you had with the banks, what are the kind of the functionalities you are providing or you're capable of providing that customer will value a lot? So what kind of capabilities you can bring in that is highly appreciated? That's a very long question, but let's try to simplify.
Sure. I think, look, at the end of the day, features can be easily copied, right? It's not something that is exclusive to any bank or any industry. So Backbase can, of course, provide you with all the basic functionalities. But beyond the basic functionalities, what is really cool about us, because we are a global company, we see innovation happening everywhere. And, the moment we see that this innovation is picking up, we productize it. And the moment it becomes productized, you can jumpstart by already adopting that feature, which unfortunately your other competition by now wouldn't have, because we have we have found that innovation somewhere in Europe or somewhere in Asia, and that we are bringing back to the product, and you can adopt that, right? And that's the best and the beauty part of having Backbase as a platform, where your development team do not have to build the basics; they can build the innovation. But what's most appreciated by financial institutions about Backbase is this cross-channel orchestration layer, which is not just the journeys at the top, which is not just a mobile app, but something which sits between your mobile app and your integration systems and your core systems, which makes it really cross-channel. Like I said when we started the conversation, none of the customers of banking are single-channel customers. They're never going to just use a mobile app. If you go to a SME, probably they will move to a mobile app, but they still want to go and get an advice about a loan, about a working capital request, for example, in SME. There's a big gap, right? There's a big digital credit gap in the SME industry, but they need support and they will call an advisor, which basically means that if you again go with this siloed approach, where you have started your journey on mobile and your advisor doesn't know what this client really needs, and it's not using the data in the most efficient way, well, then you're not providing a good experience to the client. So what most of the banks really appreciate about Backbase is that cross-channel capability. What they also like about us is that we have pre-integrated a lot of the identity-related systems to the journeys, which is an ardent task, let me tell you. I mean, we have been doing this for almost 5 years now, where we introduced an identity layer. And that identity, which is already pre-integrated to the front end, improves the time to market massively, right? Which, unfortunately, if you're going to build it by yourself, or if you go back to the old architecture, you're going to have to build all this plumbing. So in a nutshell, all the engine, the integrations, the services, which are between the core and the channel layer, is what clients really like about us. And then, of course, bringing the right developer tools. So especially large banks, they like to develop by themselves, right? And we want them to develop. We want them to innovate. That is the innovation that they need to do. For that, we are providing developer tools. For that, we are providing software development kits. For that, we are providing things like what we call as Backbase.io, which is more of a platform for developers to easily find things, develop, and also ensure that there's easy discoverability and time to market improves because of these tools, right? All of these things, the whole package, is why people like Backbase. Journeys are there, of course. We have an out-of-the-box app. You can adopt it. You can take that. Absolutely, you have that. But what people like is to build on it because there's a scalable platform beneath it. That's what differentiates us.
Is that platform also scalable for the future? Of course, the time changes, the requirements changes, the regulation changes, customer expectations changes, the communication channel changes. Everything changes in the future. The cycles today are enormously increasing the speed. So we're constantly under technological pressure and the requirement pressure. Everything needs to be kind of adapting for the future. Is the platform also kind of capable of adapting for the future as well?
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, right, that's the idea of the scalability that we have built in that platform layer. One, we have a large R&D team, which is constantly, updating, upgrading the systems, also bringing the right features, right services, etc. But at the same time, we have a specific platform team, which is only focusing on how can we make this platform scalable, how can we make it composable so that it can be picked and chosen, and that's what also differentiates us. And you don't have to do that as a bank, right? Because we have done that already. We have made it scalable. So it is scalable because of these services. It is scalable because of the journeys, the way they are built, and it is scalable because of the constant innovation that we are now also doing in the integration layer. So to answer your question, there is around a team of 900 people in our R&D team only focusing on how to make this the most scalable platform. And we have very large banks which are onboarded on the platform who are using Backbase for around 11 to 20 million customers. So you can imagine, the performance that we can easily tune. It's all because of the scalability in the platform that we have built in.
Also looking into account is that what kind of a conversation have you had lately? Like if it's looking to like 2024, it's been an interesting year. What has been the number one topic that banks like to talk with you so far?
It depends on the persona, but I would say if it is a technology person in the bank, they're just struggling with time to market. And a lot of these the CIOs, CTOs, they just ask us, how do I just get out of this complexity and deliver what my business is asking me to do in a faster way, and sometimes there's also a kind of a small banter that, it's never enough for business teams. They always ask for more and there's always time to market. But it is true, right? And you see a lot of fintechs are going into weekly releases, new features, innovation coming into from monthly to weekly now. And most of the traditional financial institutions are still in quarterly time to market releases, right? Which is tough for CTOs to compete in this world. So that's what a lot of CTOs do talk about us. They also like the architecture that we have built, right? It's a clean architecture, built from grounds up, keeping the customer in mind, not keeping the processes in mind of banking, because a lot of the systems were built bottom up, by keeping the controls in mind, but we built it from the client standpoint, so they love that. That's clean in nature. The business side, they like to talk to us about innovation. Where do you think, what should we do from a mobile standpoint? What should be our mobile strategy? What innovation should we bring in? Some of them do have a good vision, so it's very easy. They have a vision, they know what they want to do. But some of them really also think, can you help me? Can you come and tell me what are other banks doing in the region? What is the value proposition that we should go with? How can I scale this in a faster way? Those are the questions that business teams ask us, and they are looking for partners who can work alongside them and not technology vendors, who can help them expedite the transformation and at the same time bring global innovation to the local markets. That's something that we can do together.
You also mentioned a couple of roles there as well with whom you're discussing. So you mentioned already CTO, CIO. What other roles are you discussing with? What kind of people within the bank you're having the interesting discussions about how to ease their pain?
Yeah, I think we speak to business and IT stakeholders alike. CTO, CIO is definitely one of those who really like us because it helps them to expedite the time to market. Also, business stakeholders like CDO. Well, CDO is now tech and a business stakeholder, so it's not really only tech or business. But also head of lending or head of a lot of times also marketing teams are now speaking with us for our solutions on Engage, etc. So I would say it's a combination. CIO, CTO, CDO, head of lending, head of products are the kind of roles, and also now CEO becoming equally important in the decision making. A lot of CEOs also reach out to us on how can I innovate and how can I do much better in the digital world? How can I become digital? So these are the more personas who talk to us.
All right. Now we have already a little bit discussed throughout the transformation, digitalization, modernizations. And now if we take specific technology, and as Siili Solutions is a AI-powered software development house, we're using AI pretty much on everything. Soon probably in the coffee machine or something like that, but who knows. But now the AI is in all of our discussions pretty much. What about in your case? How much you're using AI?
I think it's...
And you want to take data in that one as well?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Let's take data and AI.
Perfect.
Then.
Yeah, I think let's start with data. I think the most important thing is financial institutions have tons of data, right? It's about customers, about their behavior. Unfortunately, there are two problems. We could even rename your episode, by the way, from composable to siloed.
Siloed banking.
Yeah, siloed banking, and that's why. Because again, it's not just the channels which are siloed; it's also the data which is completely siloed. There's no one view of how my customer is interacting with me as a brand. What are the touch points? They have no clue. And then there's a second problem. Even if you have the data, how do you bring it all together and then ensure that me as an employee of the bank engage with that data and also engage with my customer in that way? That's why we are called engagement banking, right? It's about also utilizing the data from all the customers and ensuring that there's right engagement at the right touch point and not just pushing some random products, right? Let me give you an example, right? I mean, we were doing some research for a bank. I will not name the region, but it was in Europe. And one thing that we realized that we filed a dispute. And when we filed a dispute, we called the contact center. And the contact center employee, unfortunately, had no idea about me as a customer. They did tell me the process of doing dispute. And they said, you know what, I'm not going to log the request. I'm going to send you an email on how to log a dispute. Okay, fair. At the end of the dispute, they were pushing an insurance product. And can you imagine that, as an experience from a client who is actually going through a dispute process, to get an insurance product upsell at that time when, I'm actually reading the process, it's just not the right thing to do at the right point in time, right? It's something that they need to understand that, what am I going through? That behavior data is there, but it's not utilized. So what we are doing is to get all those things through the channel architecture and ensuring that there is right engagement to the clients at the right point. Second, we are using our partner Microsoft to use that AI infrastructure and the data infrastructure that they have created, leverage on that tools, and create new use cases. One of the use cases is in the wealth industry now. Very recently, we did this where there's customer-focused portfolios that can be driven through the AI engine. And that's something that we are now doing. And there's a lot more coming, probably for the next episode, but there's a lot more coming on this world from not just us, but also through using the partnership that we have with Microsoft.
All right, looking forward to the future and the upcoming news, hopefully, and definitely going to follow you on LinkedIn and all the
For sure, yeah.
your upcoming posts over there. But if we take successful projects, today we're having this lovely event later today, so that we are happily to co-host at our office today, but we're going to discuss about the banking projects and how to succeed in them and how not and so forward. Based on your experience and what have you seen, you have very extensive experience already, 15 plus years in the banking industry and also a long history with Backbase. What kind of successful projects have you seen so far and what made it successful?
Yeah, I think there are many successful projects and failed projects that we have seen. I think one of the most important things which our CEO also talks about is that the executives in banks who are doing transformation should be bold, and they should have a bold vision to also ensure that they're not stuck in this old way of doing things, which is actually hampering the time to market and going faster. So the one thing that we always recommend as leaders is to be bold and take bold decisions and not just, keep doing what you were doing. Otherwise, it'll be another project, right? It's just another project. So that actually is more on the leadership side and also on the side of the project teams. The second thing which is important is, the business teams and the technology teams, like we said before, they should understand what they're building with on Backbase. It's not, if you're just going to copy what you have been copying or what you have been doing on your old platforms into the new Backbase world, then unfortunately it's a bit of a, well, of course you can do it, but is it needed is something that you need to ask as a question. In the past we used to have this journey made in this way, sure, but is it needed to be done in the same way, but you're transforming, aren't you? So if you're transforming, you need to think from a customer standpoint and not from your internal systems and internal processes and control standpoint. Having said that, keeping regulatory in mind, we're not saying that you have to dodge regulations, but what is important is still making it simpler for the clients. That's the second thing. The third thing is all about your downstream systems, right? Your APIs. It is important that embarking on a project like a program with Backbase to also think about your API strategy and your integration strategies. And of course, we have as Backbase, a standard operating procedures in case you don't have all the APIs ready. We also support you to do that with our integration platform as a service layer. But that's a very important element. And we do still see a lot of old legacy systems not having the right APIs, which also unfortunately delays the programs and projects. But then if you work with us, we can already, because we have so much experience, we can also tell you, how to build these right connectors, right APIs to ensure that there's faster time to market. So I think on the business side, be bold, bring change mindset, not just copying what you have from your old systems to the new systems. And the third one is also important that, your external systems, your APIs, readiness of your infrastructure has to be taken into account. Work with us, right from let's say now to you're going to go live or before even signing with Backbase. Work with us so that we can make a plan, right? And we ensure that your time to market is not impacted because of your internal systems. That is something that we see is a difference between a very successful project and not so successful project. I wouldn't say failed, but not so successful project, because when we are doing all these transformation, it's important that there is mutual understanding between these financial institutions and us, and how to collaboratively work, take the right decisions, take the right architecture decisions, take the right business decisions, take the right process and journey decisions. And that has to be done in a more collaborative way, not in a way that, I'm going to tell you this is exactly how it works in banking. So it has to be a partnership model.
The partnership model is very good, kind of pointing out and highlighting that one, because in my strong opinion is that it's all about, exactly you said, collaboration and the partnership. And what I like to say to my customers and with the prospects as well, with them having the discussions, is that I'm not here trying to sell you. I'm more of a trying to help you and guide you, and also being a sparring partner. Yeah. Like, as a metaphor, we're in a boxing ring. You need a sparring partner. You cannot fight by on your own. You need somebody to spar with you and challenge you and look for kind of alternative options, alternative products, services, integrations, services. It can be up to their preferences, but more or less is that the fundamental is that having that collaboration and the partnership, and have that sparring sessions and try to even resolve something very kind of a POC matter, right? It doesn't need to be big, something replacing everything in overnight. Start small, build something, have a demo, collaborate. Correct. Maybe this is the right direction, maybe not, who knows, but kind of trying to be open-minded and have that kind of what will be the perfect word here? Basically, the faith in kind of
trust. Trust is important.
Yeah, that trust one. Yeah,
trust is very important between all your technology partners and yourself. It's going to be together, and use your partners like yourself, us, Microsoft, our partnerships as more trusted advisors, because we have been seeing this across the globe, right? So use your partnership, use your internal teams to work in a more collaborative fashion. Not in a competitive fashion. That's what basically we would say.
Yeah, that's well said. But trying out there, one more question is that how much are you bringing insights from rest of the world? You mentioned that you're also work in Asia, right, with the customers?
Yeah.
In Europe, North America?
Correct.
Yeah, all right. So how much do you bring insights from there, let's say here in Finland or in Nordics? How much insights you're bringing out what is happening outside of the European Union, successful projects or kind of a collaborations, etc. How much do you bring that kind of a valuable insights into this region?
I think when we were starting the conversation, we did say, right, that if we see innovation that is happening across the globe, and we see this is QR code is a great example, right? QR code payments started a lot in Asia.
Oh yeah, I remember that time back in China. Love to pay that with WeChat and Alipay.
Yeah, exactly. It was so nice, and then you saw that was picked up in Southeast Asia, then in India, then the European, QR code slowly picked up. It's still there, in parts in Belgium. It's still picking up. It's still there. It's quite heavy. But we productized it, right? And you see it now as a part of Backbase product. It is there. QR code payments is a part of our product. So something which was already there is automatically coming into the platform. That's number one. Number two, when we are doing either the value consulting part or our implementation teams doing implementations, they will bring this knowledge because we are a global team, and because we are more agile in nature, we are not really bound by just regions while we have regional expertise. But we are not just bound by regions. We already bring that expertise to you. So something that we probably built in Middle East would be super interesting for you. And then we will, if you become a partner with Backbase, we will arrange these demo sessions. We will arrange what is happening in the globe. So we do this inspiration quarterly business review and inspiration sessions where we go to our customers and we inspire them. Look, this is what is happening here. This is what is happening there. And then that also shapes a vision of how you could disrupt the industry in your local region, right? So to summarize, on the platform, it will automatically happen because the R&D teams will spot an innovation happening, will bring that in the product with the platform, and then it's made available. Second, on the implementation and consulting level, we will bring that along with our partners like you. Even the inspiration sessions are with the partners. So we will bring someone like Microsoft, someone like you, where we will sit together and we will show you this inspiration, what is happening across the globe, which you can then get inspired and say, yeah, maybe this is going to change my industry in my region. So these two things help you to bring a very holistic approach to banking in your region and to also bring, again, faster time to market to jumpstart innovation before anyone else picks it up.
Exactly. And most likely we will bring as well the technical and business at the same time.
Exactly.
Right? That will provide the perfect layout for the working workshop, basically. So collaboration. But then usually we're pretty much running out of time. We need to go and move back to our office to celebrate the after work event. So, but before that is kind of a most important question that I have usually asked here on the Composable Banking podcast is that if you had 10 million euros as a fund, now you're stripping away all your titles and your work experience. Now you're an individual and I give you 100 mil and you need to build a bank. What kind of a bank would you build?
This is an interesting question. It's also quite interesting that, I can just take off all the 15 years experience. Well, I think
well, you can use that if you want to, but we're taking all the kind of the Backbase information out of this. You can use it if you want to, but if you have the freedom of building a bank.
Yeah, well, I think if I may controversially say that I wouldn't build a bank.
That's also an option.
I would just, why am I saying this? Because banking is becoming invisible, right? I mean, if you see, it is just there. For example, if I'm starting a journey on again, I'm going to take an Asia example. If you go to Asia, if you go to Indonesia, for example, Grab has picked up so much, right? I mean, you see how they have embedded finance inside the overall journey of the client, right? And there's a nice example about this. I was reading about it, and it's like a small rice basket shop who could never reach, something around 1 to 2 kilometers of its reach. Because of Grab, can now deliver their services across the city. But not just that, they can also, what Grab does, which is super cool, they will then say, okay, you know what? I now know how much this person sells. We know how much they earn because they also give them tools, right? They can do cash flow on that. They can do cash flow forecasting on the same app. And because that data is around, then Grab provides it. Hey, you know what? I think you need a working capital loan. Here's another working capital loan. And this rice basket person is now, so, wow, this is so nice. I can now grow my business. So it's not just about growing revenue and sales for this rice basket owner, but it's also now getting a working capital. So look how banking, well, not banking, but how it is revolved around the customer. But for that, you need an architecture. For that, you need a thinking which is not just a banking thinking. It is more beyond banking thinking of how the client really behaves. What is it that is happening in the lifetime of the clients, and then embed banking inside it, right? And embed finance inside that. I think that's how I would think personally, where I'm having some sort of one app and which is or one mobile journey. Of course, with more of a advisor related things for complex things, but it should be revolving around the customer's journey, life cycle. So if you give me 100 million today, or you said 10 million?
100 million.
100 million.
Okay.
If you give us 100 million, I think it should be. I would not build just a bank. What I would like to build is something which is revolving around the customer's life cycle, and then banking is embedded inside it.
Mayur, that was very perfect answer on how you would spend the 100 million, but unfortunately we're running out of time and we need to continue the day. But at this point, I just want to thank you for traveling all the way from Netherlands. So thanks for that, to show up on the podcast episode where we discussed a lot of good topics about the modernization, the journey by journey, and taking the bold plans and moving forward, and partnerships, collaboration, that what we already have established between us as well. I'm very looking forward to the future where it will take us, and just generally super excited about the times that we're living right now. So at this point, I just want to thank you that you showed up, and looking forward to seeing you soon again.
Thank you as well, for having us, for having me here, and I'm also looking forward to the partnership to bring our expertise with you to the region. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for signing up for the Composable Banking podcast, and see you on the next episode.